Hey everybody, Drew here, and today we are going to fix this screen from this 2004 to 2009 Toyota Prius. In this case, the screen works, but it doesn't respond to touch, so we're going to put a new Digitizer on it. Got that on eBay, I think it was about 15 bucks. And you're not going to need anything other than standard hand tools. I'm going to be using my DeWalt power impact there to disassemble it, and probably going to use a manual screwdriver to put it back together so I don't over torque anything. I'm just going to go over the steps to do that. First, we're going to take off this screw and this screw to get these two brackets off, because we need to get to these screws down here to take this part out, and then this screw and this screw. So you can carefully take the screen out and kind of flip it up, being careful of this one black cable which connects right there. You're able to rotate it and set it next to the unit, and then just get underneath that lip. I'm going to try to zoom in there. I already started it. See how there's that lip? If you get right under that with the edge of a knife, or probably much better to use like an iPhone screen repair tool, right? Get under there and pry that up and it comes right out. Next, there's two screws where those holes are. They're the short ones there that I already took out. And then there is that screw next to it, and then that screw next to it on that side, the ones that are in like the tombstone shaped recesses. So these first ones here, the ones that are out, release this metal frame that's actually on our screen. On the other side, unfortunately, to get to those, you're going to have to take out that guy there and that guy there, again in the tombstone shape, and pull the screen out a little bit. Okay, so that outermost screw there and there, I suppose the second one in, the one that's not in that square shape, that one right there, and then the outermost one there and the outermost one there will loosen up this frame, which now the only thing holding it in is that little notch that goes underneath the cable. So we're going to lift that off. So with that out of the way, we're able to lift the screen assembly up enough to get to these last two screws holding on the silver frame. All right, here's the least fun part. So that's a plastic razor blade, and what we have to do, not sure if you see, it looks like there's like 4 layers there, right? But really, the layer, the black plastic, is the border between the screen and the digitizer. So basically what I'm going to do is get in between that black plastic and the digitizer and kind of cut it with this plastic razor blade. Again, these aren't easy to find. I got mine on Amazon. I keep them in the garage for various things, and we might need a metal razor blade too. More on that as it unfolds. So right off the bat, it appears that some metal razors are going to come in handy just to get through some of the apparently glue that holds this on. Definitely safety glasses for this part, because it might not seem like you need them, but then God forbid a piece of this chips and hits you in the eyeball, and then it's really easy to regret not putting on the safety glasses. So gonna work at this with the plastic and metal razors, again getting underneath this plastic, or above this plastic and underneath that glass. All right, so just throwing it out there, I get that I'm your YouTube guy and I'm not your dad, but the logical way to do this, or the way that feels the most natural, is to get the razor blade in there and then pull it toward you, which is fine. Just watch where you keep your hand, because you're going to want to hold it like this and pull that razor down. If that jumps out and goes into your hand, it's a nice clean cut, but it's going to need stitches. So just be very mindful of how you're doing this. It's difficult to do it away from you because you have less control. So if you do it towards you, just watch yourself. All right, so about halfway through, I got really uncomfortable holding that razor, so I upgraded to this one. Just be careful, because just like if you're working, like trying to take a windshield out without breaking it, the pressure can crack it, right? And it kind of reminds me of that. Just be careful. Again, I got my safety glasses on, because if a piece of this flies and hits you and it's in the eyeball, it's going to be a really bad day. So just be careful. The last, ironically for me, the last part was the side with the cable on it. I just went right through the cable. I don't care. Obviously, I'm replacing it. Just going to clean up this glue, and we'll work on getting the new one on. But this last leg here, if you will, is extremely difficult. That's an alarming amount of pressure to use with a razor blade. So I'll say it again, just be careful. To clean the glue, I just took my razor and went almost totally parallel with it and scraped across a bunch of times. So I gently just pulled the cable out, and in doing so, you see that brown, almost looks like a phone receiver, right? that kind of came out and forward, which means when we put our new one in, we push that down and that's how it locks. These come with a plastic film on both sides, one to protect the screen, just I guess from fingerprints and packaging, but the other side is to protect the glue that's inevitably going to stick it onto that black trim where we scrape the old glue off. So what I did is I set it on here with the film still on it, and obviously it's a little bit sticky still from the old glue, but I want to do this and put in the electrical connector before pulling off that glue, because there's no side-to-side movement with this ribbon, and what we don't want to do is get it on there crooked and then, you know, ruin our brand new digitizer. So as you see here, I have it kind of so that my thumb's putting pressure down into the socket with the cable itself or the ribbon itself, and I'm going to take that steak knife I used earlier and I am going to push down that light brown connector, and that should lock it in. Now that that's locked in, obviously don't, you know, act like you're pull starting your lawnmower, but, you know, give it a very, very light tug just to make sure it's going to stay in there. And you could go ahead and peel the plastic off the screen and flop it on. And quick correction, turns out the glue has this brown like paper on it that has to be peeled off first. So that's on there now, nice and secure. I'm gonna peel the plastic off and put everything back together the way it came apart. And hey, just wanna throw it out there. So I broke my old digitizer, you saw that. This is obviously my dining room table. My kids sit here and eat. I'm literally like in my daughter's spot. That's why we have this plastic cover, you know, so it's under the tablecloth and nothing ruins the table, right? There's obviously gonna be like little tiny pieces of glass, like that one right there. So be extremely careful to clean the work area you were in if you did so much as chip this glass, especially if you're like me and you're doing it at your dining room table. When you go to put this shiny silver bezel back on, you'll notice it's, initially it's like, oh, which way does it go? There's this cutout and that goes over the ribbon. And then if you remember, there's two size screws, the long one and the short one. It's the 4 short screws that hold this shiny silver bezel with the screws in the tombstone shapes on that side, and then on this side, remember we had to lift it out a little bit. Now it's time to put this guy on, and you'll remember that it has this little loop right there, little hanger, if you will, that holds that black wire, so that gives you an idea of exactly how it goes back on, and it's the long screws, of course. All right, so a little bit of challenge getting this bezel on. The opposite of the electrical connector, I have these two in place, that screw and the screw on the very far end there. And as you see, it's like a slot for that one. Keep in mind that the bezel goes inside the outer frame. This hole here goes in between this outer hole here, and then a third hole which is threaded on the inside. And there's a little bit of a hang up over here, which appears to be, I don't know if you can see that tombstone shaped slot there with the shiny behind it, the little tab that comes down. It's very hard to point out. I'm going to try to use the tip of the knife. It looks like this guy right there, that tab is hitting that, which I don't even know if you can see. I'll try to zoom in. So again, this tab right here hitting that. So I put the screws loosely in the other side, and I'm going to very gently find out if that or what else is holding this up. Put all the screws in loosely, and then you know, tighten them down with it in the proper position. Because again, these slots here, these holes here are a slotted hole, which might be by design for assembly. It appears to me that the rounded part at the top is where the screw actually belongs. So it's like you could put it in, then push it down and tighten it. Actually turns out that thing with the steak knife was part of it, but these little copper tabs here that are on the screen, the edge of them, which I'll zoom in and show you there, that top little sharp edge was catching the edge of this lip. So again, it's important not to force anything, because had I done that, it could have damaged it. So just gonna put all the screws back in, and again, make sure that on these slotted ones, it's in the appropriate position, which I believe is this circular part at the top of what looks like a keyhole. Now it's finally time to put the screen assembly back into its case. Just like when we took it apart, it's able to kind of sit next to the screen. It is able to sit next to the case while that connector is put in. and then we're gonna screw it all back together. Now you'll notice whenever I do work like this, I put things in order of where they go. So that one goes on that side, that one goes on that side, and then next is the screws that were, so basically if I put my parts up here, work my way down, I work my way up to them, and that's kind of the order of operations and position of left to right. So these little notches on both sides and these little plastic pegs get you to your home position. And again, I put my screws in order. So these big screws that are machine thread go here. We're gonna tighten these up later. Just wanna show you guys, right? So those go in there. Trust me, I can do it. And then these, lag style or wood style screws go into the plastic there and there. And then just these tabs, which as you face the screen, right is left and left is right. You might want to mark that when you take it apart, actually. These guys are pretty straightforward. So you see this one says left. If you're working, where you can read the Toyota logo like this, right? It's actually on the right, but when you spin it around and put it in the car, it's on the left. So it's got these two little nubbies that stick out that go in these two holes next to the screw hole, like that, and then you just screw it in. The other one's self-explanatory. And there you have it. This screen is like $350 to $450. So if you made it this far, you just saved yourself a lot of money. So next step, we're gonna put it in the car, make sure it works, and we are good to go. So here's the moment of truth. Awesome, it works. Let's we'll go to like display, hit this button up here, climb it, make sure all the different areas work. That is absolutely awesome. So hopefully this video was helpful. The purpose of this channel is to show you guys the quickest, most effective way to do things, eliminate steps that are unnecessary from the factory manuals and such without cutting corners and sacrificing the quality of the work. We don't just do Prius, though we absolutely love them and do a lot of them. We do imported cars from Japan, hot rods, classic cars, and various other day-to-day automobiles. So if you like this video, we just ask you give it a thumbs up. It helps us a lot. Also, please subscribe to the channel if it's interesting to you. We try to post a lot of good content for you guys and save you time. And again, if this was helpful, just give it that thumbs up. And God bless you guys. Take care.